I don't think I'm alone in thinking this, just kind of seeing more people talk about it and the sentiment towards PulseX. I think people are pretty much as bullish on that as just the Pulse token at this point. People are realizing that, like, okay, well, the Pulse token's like ETH. It's like the gas token. It's like, I have to have it. It's the ecosystem. I think PulseX is kind of this cycle's hex for people. And I'm not saying that like in terms of, the product it is and what it does or anything like that, or what like a smart contract versus a DEX or anything. I don't mean like that. But I just think that it is like the new innovation in this ecosystem that is the sexiest one to own, that you can see what it has going for it and people are excited about it because it does have the shiny new object syndrome, whereas Hex doesn't as much. And you can see that it's a unique protocol that nobody else in crypto has. So I think that it really has that behind it. And doing, of course, the LPing and the yield farms with Pulse and PulseX right now and earning Ink token. I think people love that. I love it. I mean, I love being able to do that right now.
And it's odd to see people that aren't a fan. I think we mentioned it. Maybe we didn't mention it. You and I talked about it. How some people like Dane and Corey are against it. And I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand you. There's a very little risk, I would say, even between a PulseX pair. At this point, if you're in it for the longer term, the ratio will fluctuate. You will end up with a little bit more of either, but because they're paired together in a very heavy liquidity bond, they're going to move up together. So even if some big buyer comes in and gets one, they're going to both move together. So yeah, I just don't understand how some people are just really against it, but to each their own. More INC for me.
Those were some notes I made a couple of weeks ago because I was watching those guys and they seem to be down on LPing as a whole. Now I do understand it, like when you're talking about with the stables, because then you're dealing with like crippling and permanent loss, possibility. And I know Corey himself mentioned getting hit hard on the PulseX Inc. farm before, but they were even down, like you said, on the Pulse and PulseX pool. And, just reiterating, I mean, like, the ratio I check every other day or so. The last time I looked, I think it was like 2.6 or something like that, PulseX to Pulse. But even if it would move in a direction like 50% from here, like it could go the whole way up to, I did the math the other day, I mean, like to 3.5 to 3.75 area or something, which we haven't seen since like the launch, like since PulseX was ravaged, basically.
Right.
It could even move that much. And you'd still only have like 2% in permanent loss, and you are easily being covered by the ink gains you've made if you've been doing it for any amount of time.
Sure.
Really. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and my camera, I'll fix that in a minute. But I don't really understand being against that one. I think it's terrific, and it's pretty hard to really lose money on it overall. So,
especially that pair. Like I said, I do agree with you. Be very cautious about your stable coin with whatever it is. But if you have two coins that you really like, no matter what, even like some of the pairs, we'll use Axis and Solid X, whatever they are. If you have both of those and you want to provide liquidity and earn fees, things like that, something that you don't mind having one or a little bit more of one or the other, impermanent loss can only really hurt if there's a token that you don't want more of at this point when things are running up, especially more like a stable coin. If you're 50-50 with a coin and a stable coin, and you end up with a whole bunch more stable coin and a lot less of the one that just ran to the moon, that's unfortunate. So that's why I can see practicing a lot of caution.
And that's why people should keep in mind too, if you're entering into an LP position, you want to have a long-term mindset with that. I know people get so sick of like, hex staking and delayed gratification, but I mean, that's what you have to do with this, and I'm not saying long-term, like 15 years. I'm just saying long-term, like you want to be doing this for like 6 months at least or so. Like if you want to be providing LP for some time, that way the swings, it keeps swinging back and forth, and you're just riding along with that. And then keep in mind, this isn't like a hex stake or something. This is just providing liquidity. So you can go in at any time, pull it if you're not comfortable with it anymore. You can harvest your Inc rewards at any time. You can even sell them for something else if you want. Sell them back into whatever token you missed out on, whatever you want to do. It's basically just like a little money printer running in the background. So yeah, I mean,
I think ideally a full cycle is probably an ideal amount of time to where you can get the full spectrum of it going up and coming back down, and you may end up right back where you were as far as number-wise of tokens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. So keep a long-term mindset when it comes to the LPing like that, and I think you're pretty much going to be good to go. And as long as the APY, like the APY on it has basically been for the last few months, like as the lowest I've seen is about 15%. It's been up to like 22%. We've seen Inc token at almost like a 2x from where we sit right now. So keep in mind when things start pumping again, it's just like hex stakes in the past and stuff. Like when you're accruing all this Inc right now, and then suddenly the prices start to shoot up, I mean, you're going to see the benefit of it, as things start to move up. So keep that in mind.